Alright guys, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys exactly what this player right here, Demus, I'm going to show you what he does to qualify to the Cash Cup. I'm going to be doing a VOD review of his Cash Cup game. This is going to be from the Opens round. It's a game that he actually won. He won with 6 eliminations. I think it's a really valuable game to watch, to learn from, so be sure to stick around to the end so you guys don't miss any information. And getting right into it, Demus in the early game, he lands at this bridge, as you guys can see right here. This bridge is extremely good POI because it has tons of chests, tons of loot, and it isn't too contested. And it also has access to the train, which is a really valuable competitive asset, because you know it's going to be having really good loot, it's going to be having really good attributes for rotation, you can move around the map easier, so that's a big bonus. He also has slurp barrels, as you guys can see right here. He isn't going to be using them completely because he does have extra minis, and minis are pretty common, and he just wants to save some time, and he wants to also get all the materials that he can from the slurp barrel. And then what he's going to do is he's going to use the river to rotate over to this POI. This is going to be called Low Old Mill. This is a solid house, and it has a lot of chests. It has a lot of, attributes that you guys can really abuse in the solo specifically. This location over here is really good as well because it had extra chests, it has ammo boxes, and a bunch of metal for you guys to farm. I also want you guys to understand how focused he is on farming all the small miscellaneous things around the houses in order to get metal, in order to focus on prioritizing shield, and just getting genuinely kitted for the rest of the game. He makes sure to loot this house to completion, get all the slurp barrels and the metal objects, and after he's done with looting this house completely, his main goal is to rotate to somewhere where he can get better loot, and the way he chooses to do that is he farms a bunch of materials in just various areas around, and then he rotates over to the bunker that he knows is nearby. As you guys can see, there's this bunker right here, and his choice right here is to base up on it. This is actually really valuable because I want to point out how exactly on the map, guys, he has a really good power position. So as you guys can see, he's going to be located right around this area near the bunker, and I want you guys to understand how he's going to be able to get Storm Surge. So people are rotating from Doom's Courtyard, from Doomstad, from Rebel's Roost, Castle Doom even. They're going to be rotating towards this central area of the zone, and his goal right here is to beam those people, get his Storm Surge tags onto those players, genuinely, because it's going to help him out a lot when it comes to having Storm Surge for the later stages of the game. I also want you guys to understand how much he's prioritizing getting materials. He's farming every tree, every brick, and he's also rotating over to this gas station as a secondary place to get loot and metal. It's a really important aspect that I want you to follow that Demus has, is that he has a complete loot route, including his main POI, but also other places he can rotate to really easily get loot. And then he decides to rotate back to the bunker area, use this area sort of to finish up on metal, wait until the bunker opens, but also expand it and use it as a Storm Surge tag base. I want you to also see how he's starting to collect white health, which is going to be the chug splashes and the medkits. This will be really important later on during the end game. As you guys know, these later stage Cash Cup games do really get stacked. There's still 60 people alive, and it is the second zone, so it's going to be a lot of people. Another main thing I want you guys to understand is that Demus is not afraid of the storm. The storm's coming in, he has his white health, he decides to stay here and get storm tagged players onto enemy players that are rotating around the area. He's not afraid of people. That's a crucial aspect that a lot of people tend to miss, especially during these stacked Cash Cup games. And like I said, he's just sitting in the storm here, tanking damage, waiting for this bunker to open, because the bunker actually provides a lot of extra loot, a lot of really important aspects for you guys to succeed. And he has his medkit, obviously, he has his fizz, and he also has the splashes. That's what's going to be keeping him alive here. Another really important thing that I want you to note is that he collects these medkits, of course, but he also uses the mod bench, which is a really crucial aspect. A lot of players tend to forget about the mod bench. You can get tons of really good mods onto the weapon, like scopes. You can get stuff that makes your shots more accurate. There's a bunch of things and a bunch of reasons that you guys should use it. Now right here, he obviously decides to rotate into zone. This is going to be the play, of course, but I want you guys to see exactly what his tactic is. What he's doing is he's white lining. So if I show you kind of where he is and where he's rotating, the zone is pretty much a white line to the storm circle right there. This is a strategy that can work. However, it is risky if you guys are not really well equipped with mobility and protection and really good loot to keep you alive. Obviously, his playstyle here is passive. That's going to be his playstyle pretty much for the whole game until the end game. However, I truthfully believe that this is a really good playstyle, especially during the later Cash Cup games if you want to be safe. Now, as he rotates, he obviously encounters some players that are going to be giving him a couple slowdowns. It's going to be tough for him to try to get out of those situations if he didn't have the mobility and the resources. So that's why I think that white lining here is a good strategy, because he has the mobility and the resources to protect him, to help him move quicker. He's obviously using the fizz really well. These are some things that you guys need to take note of, because this is how you should be playing if you want to emulate how Demus is playing in this tournament. Even when he does get shot, he stops and he bases up. He makes sure that he re-kits or he remeds, and then he continues rotating on in a safe way, using his fizz mobility, using his sprinting abilities. Those are two ways that you guys should definitely try to rotate. Another main thing is I want you guys to identify how he's on the high ground areas. He's obviously on the mountains above the rest of the map. He's going to be in that Olympus biome. That's going to be having a lot of elevation, and it's a crucial way that you guys are going to need to play. I also want you to identify how he's going to be sitting in a bush and using it as natural cover. That's really going to be helpful, so for him to save mats, for him to get good sight lines onto people, maybe Storm Surge if he needs it. And like I said, he's playing very passive, which is a really effective playstyle, especially this season. You can stack tons of mobilities, tons of heal off items, have a lot of protection, and the weapons are genuinely pretty pretty good, so that's why I'd recommend you guys try to play passive if you are not confident playing aggressive. His goal in this game primarily, because he's playing passive, is to get to the dead side. So as I'm going to show you guys right now, this is going to be the zone that he is in right now, and he's going to be trying to rotate over to this area, which is going to be the dead side of zone. A lot of the players have rotated towards this bottom half onto the high ground elevated areas near Mount Olympus, and the main reason that I recommend he rotates over here is because it's truthfully going to be the part of zone that makes it easier for him to rotate. There's going to be less players, it's going to be easier for him to move around. That's why he's trying to get to the dead side, and he's doing a really good job at it too, because what he decides to do is he decides to use these flow berries, use the resources around him to try and get to that dead side of zone. Obviously players are going to be spraying him from on top of the mountains, but he has the resources, the materials to move around and to just genuinely get to where he needs to go. He decides to base up on these big rocks, these big bricks, and refarm with those trees and stuff. That's how he's going to get really successful materials throughout this whole game. Like I said, his main mobility this game is going to be the Flowberry Fizz. That's going to be a crucial way that he's able to get around the map. But I also want you guys to once again understand, focus on where he's rotating. He's white lining to the zone right now. However, he decided to rotate early due to the amount of mobility that he has and his overall defensive playstyle. He knows that if he rotates early, blocks his back, makes sure he uses natural cover like these builds that are already here for him, he knows that he's not going to get eliminated or even beamed in those circumstances. And like I said, the Flowberry Fizz is a really good item for you guys to all carry if you want to rotate in solos. It's going to make rotating a lot easier. Another really important thing that I want you guys to understand right here, he is using armored walls really well in these scenarios. He's using them to protect the parts of his builds that are going to be the most vulnerable. This player, as you can see right here, this guy is going to be spraying Demus's bottom builds, and he wants to make sure that that player stops spraying them so he can only focus on these other 4 directions. And I want you to understand that's how he stays protected. And like I said, he's not really looking for kills, he's trying to play passive. That's a really important thing to note, is that his passive playstyle doesn't call for looking for kills unless of 2 things happen. A, being that you guys don't have enough materials and you need a refresh, or B, you guys see an easy elimination that's really easy to get, you guys can quickly get it with an offensive advantage. That's the other scenario on which you should go for kills. And I also want you guys to notice that he's continuously scouting. He's in his cone looking for rotation paths. He's going to be looking out across the map right here, as you guys can see. 4 areas to rotate depending on where the zone pulls. The zone's about to close in 2 seconds. So obviously when the zone closes, the zone does pull all the way in this direction. He's probably going to be looking in this direction, noticing, hey, maybe I can rotate to the mid ground, the low ground, use this big wall as natural cover. I can go through a lot of these old builds, and that's going to be his playstyle, as you can see later in this endgame. His overall playstyle is to just play mid ground, use his Fizz for rotation. It's kind of an interesting strategy, because what I want you guys to see right here is I want you to see in the way he rotates is going to be sort of like this. So let's say that this is the zone he's rotating in. I'm going to take this pen right here and show you guys. He's going to be kind of jumping from place to place. So he's going to be right here originally. Let's say he's right there. He's going to be hopping over here with his Fizz, boxing up again, hopping over here with his Fizz, boxing up again, hopping over here with his Fizz, boxing up again. It's going to be a continuous cycle until he gets to where he needs to go. Like I said, he's playing mid ground. He's not really going for high ground because you don't actually need it that much in solos. It does really help with your win condition. However, it's really not something you need. And as you can see, because right there he did have an opportunity to get a kill and he might have actually needed the resources to have a refresh, he decided to go for that player, eliminate him really well by just kind of going into his box. That's another thing that people seem to misunderstand. In solos, if you guys want an elimination badly, you should just genuinely go into somebody's box, get the element of surprise on them, and then try to eliminate them as quick as possible. And like I said, he uses that tactic again of rotating with Fizz, kind of hopping from box to box. And he's once again scouting, as you guys can see. He's making sure he knows the next path to zone. He has the Fizz to do so. Right here, he has really good materials, really good kits, so he's going to try to focus on playing defensive, not going for eliminations unless he has the free opportunity to. In this circumstance, he's above Storm Surge, and I would recommend he tries to go for a kill simply because he only has 83 builds. While that is a lot, that's not enough to last him for the entire rest of the game, especially considering that there's 32 people still alive. As you can see, he gets that elimination right there, gets a refresh on some materials and some other resources. But after that, he just tries to rotate out throughout the zone, uses his armored walls really well. That's still a really crucial item that I recommend a lot of you guys try to pick up. And I want you to also notice that where he looks for eliminations is crucial as well. When he does have the means to get elimination for points or for the resources or for whatever, he looks on 2 places. He looks on the low ground, or he looks for people who are boxed up in wood that he can easily rush into their box with. Once again, he's on the low ground, which is a really good layer in solos, especially if you have Fizz, because you can easily get off of it. And obviously he's spraying people down just like that. Like I said, in wood, he's spraying that enemy player because it's really easy to break wood. You can get a surprise elimination, surprise beam onto people. He obviously goes back up to mid ground, tries to get some more eliminations that he can easily. And like I said, mid ground is a really solid layer as well. Pretty much anything is a solid layer in solos as long as you have mobility. Nothing is really good if you don't have mobility. Obviously, he's rotating really clean and really well throughout this endgame. He finds some extra mats, which that is just going to be a bit of luck. But I want you to understand that his method of switching from high ground to low ground and back and forth and stuff, that is really smart, because genuinely that's going to be the way that you're going to focus on trying to stay alive easier. It's also really going to help you have really good map control and awareness. So as you can see right here, there's going to be the mid-ground layers. He's going to be sort of boxed up on this lower layer right here. As you guys can see, Demus is going to be in this mid-ground area. However, up above there's going to be high ground, then kind of second height, higher mid-ground layers, lower mid-ground, and then low ground, of course. The method of switching from low ground to mid-ground and back and forth, it genuinely just allows you to be more aware of where players are on the couple layers around you, because oftentimes high ground is going to be way above you, like it is in this situation. Like I said, this strategy also allows him to rack up a lot of eliminations as he keeps going throughout this endgame, using his armored walls, using his Fizz. He's able to rotate around really efficiently and get all the eliminations that he would possibly be able to get. As you can see right there, he had the element of surprise onto an opponent, and he just got 2 clean eliminations. And now getting into sort of this later stage of the game, he decides that he wants to start cleaning up the rest of the lobby. He knows he probably has some of the most mats in the game and also some of the best items and heals. I also want you guys to notice how he's carrying 4 medkits and 6 chug splashes. He's preparing for a heal off, which is honestly crucial in this meta, simply because heal offs are going to happen a lot of the stacked endgames that you guys are in. And once again, as he rotates around the area, as he's playing in this endgame, he makes sure to have really good map control on the low ground. He tries to damage everybody that he can in order to have the best amount of health, the best items in general. And now in this final 1v1 situation, obviously the smart play for him is to go for heal off. And I want you guys to note how he does it. He decides to drop down to the low ground and then box up and use his armored walls to protect him. This is good because the enemy player doesn't know where he is and also can't break into his box that easily. He also is genuinely going to win the heal off because he has the most amount of white health, and this is, in the end, is what allows him to win the game really easily. Now guys, that was a really good game from Demus. I wanted to make this video to explain how you guys can qualify through Cash Cup Opens. This game is a Cash Cup Opens game, and I truthfully believe that if you guys follow all the stuff that I went over in this video, you guys will do very well. But that's about it for this video, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.